trying to become the third Brit in the last 4 stages that have been held in Geneva on the Tour de Romandie to take the win. Mark Cavendish in the prologue 2008, interspersed with Oscar Freire in 2009 for Spain. Ben Swift in the sprint in 2011. Here is Chris Froome at the start in 2013. Leads the general classification by 47 seconds. Now Jurgen van den Broek, man building for the Tour de France as well. 9th on the day, decent from the Lotto man. Sprinting over the line for the Belgian team. So all focus here on the man in yellow. Talked about, of course, his British nationality, but we mustn't forget his Kenyan and African roots. If he does manage to negotiate this successfully, which you'd expect him to do.
Valverde, 50 seconds it is, down in the Tony Martin at the first time check.
Valverde, who will go off for a rest after this race. His preparation is for the Tour de France this year. Will not be riding the Giro d'Italia. Spilak looking down. This is Jean-Christophe Perrault. Again, you can see the French bands on his arm, which indicate that he's a former French national champion in this discipline. And he finishes inside the top 10 for the moment.
You can just see the difference between a lot of these riders, very slight riders, skinny, small riders compared to the big powerhouse of Tony Martin. And if you're getting in just under 19 kilometres within 1 minute of Tony Martin, you've done very well today.
You talk about the big powerhouses. We saw the biggest of the big powerhouses first out onto the course today. Perhaps the man with the biggest thighs in pro cycling, I think. Absolutely immense to see him powering along at the grand old age of almost 40 now. Bert Grabs, schooled in the East German way, and has come in and ridden for some of the biggest teams, certainly in time trialling. Bert Grabs, he unfortunately unable to put in a competitive time today, but it was good to see him out on the course for Omega Pharma Quickstep.
We're just hearing also that Thibaut Pinot for France said that you're the best young rider in the Tour de Romandie so far this year, coming up towards the first time check at half distance. He's lost about 50 seconds or just over 50 seconds, so compare that to Kelderman at that moment in time. It looks as if Kelderman is looking better for the best young jersey in this year's Tour of Romandie.
That is one to keep watching. This is the GC duel. Again, we didn't expect there to be too much of a duel. No disrespect to Simon Spilak, this is just the natural realisation of Chris Froome's excellent time trial abilities. But we shall see. Spilak's certainly going to give it his best, no doubt about that for Katusha. Besides, he doesn't need that bottle, and rolls on.
And in fact, when we're looking at Spilak here, Thibaut Pinot came through the time check at 9.65 kilometres at 54 seconds off the fastest time of Tony Martin.
As it stands then, we'll look at Marcel Wyss approaching the finish, but Thibaut Pinot in danger of losing his white jersey here on the Tour de Romandie. Wyss it is, and he's going to be the last Swiss rider to finish this race. More flag waving. Listen to the crowd as he's welcome home. And well done to Marcel Wyss. I Am Cycling complete their first home tour.
And Kieselowski now for Radio Shack Leopard. He is coming up to the intermediate checkpoint in 9.65 kilometres, and he was a rider that was on the attack yesterday, but it looks as if he's losing over 50 seconds already.
Rui Alberto Costa, not to be confused with a footballer of the same name. In fact, he's aware of that, and his Twitter account is Rui Costa Cyclist. The most famous and the most gifted cyclist to come from Portugal. Riding for Movistar. Top Iberian team, so it's almost home for him. Movistar, of course, based in the north of Spain. He was third here last year. He won the Tour de Suisse, so he really enjoyed his time on Swiss roads. I know he's got a lot of stick off a certain section of support for saying that he's quite an egotistical rider. But I know that Movistar are very happy to have him at the heart of the team alongside Alejandro Valverde. It's Keselowski then. Applause for him as he rides in towards the finish. Turns around and makes his way to the second part of the course. Chris Froome's still on his way out. He's the last rider on course. All decked out in yellow today. I think could have given him a yellow helmet as well. There's his Pinarello time trial bike. Of course, the reason he's wearing number 1, not because he won the race last year, but because his team Sky carried the jersey from start to finish 12 months ago. Bradley Wiggins, the eventual winner, but let's not forget that Geraint Thomas, the Welshman, held the jersey after the prologue. Just simply exchanged it with his team leader after the first road stage.
Just looking at Rui Costa, who we've just seen there doing a reasonably good time trial. The picture looking like at the first checkpoint he's going to be losing just over 30-odd seconds, so you know he's looking very good for the third place in the podium. Possibly if he needs a lot more time depending on Spilak, but for me Spilak should have enough time to finish second in this race, but Rui Costa's really giving it some, coming up to the time check now, and it'll probably be just over 30 seconds.
Well, the difference between Rui Costa and Simon Spilak is 34 seconds as far as second and third place is concerned. So still a chance for Rui Costa to improve upon his third place last year and step up to second on the podium. We shall see. 1 minute 21 behind the lead of Chris Froome before today. Remember the man behind him, Robert Keselowski, not challenging. So his third place looking very good. Now here's Wilco Kelderman. All important for that white jersey time. Kelderman's going to set the time, then it will be up to Thibaut Pinot to make sure that he limits his losses. The problem is for Pinot, he only has 1 second to play with. Kelderman then will set a time that takes him into 19th place, pardon me, 1 minute and 9.84 seconds down. Thibaut Pinot must now look at Kelderman's time and make sure he equals it.
Well, this man here in the red, number 18, Simon Spilak, doing a very good time trial. He also coming up to the split points, and he looks to be losing possibly just over 20 seconds at the first split point, so he is consolidating his second position on the overall rankings.
So Simon Spilak with a superb ride so far, great to see. Just 20 seconds down. Interesting to see Chris Froome's time then. Here we go. Spilak looking absolutely brilliant on the bike at the intermediate time. 19.51 down. Well, well, well. Certainly making a great effort of this. Now all eyes will go on Chris Froome.
Well, as we said earlier, it's what you've got left in the tank, and you know, after some hard days racing, it's all about you know, the race of truth. There's nowhere to hide, and it's getting the power out. And Spilak showed very good form yesterday and winning the stage, and looks as if he's doing a very good time trial here in Geneva.
Well, Froome did leave the gate 2 minutes after Simon Spilak, and he might just be being made aware in his ear that he needs to make sure he's on the top of his game today.
Well, Chris Froome is coming up to this checkpoint with about 1 kilometre to go to that checkpoint. He's 15 seconds off the time of Tony Martin.
Means he is a couple of seconds quicker at the moment than Simon Spilak. Tom Danielson finishing his time trial. Tony Martin doesn't have to worry at the moment about his stage win. everybody through the intermediate time almost, with Froome just a few hundred metres off it. Here's Rui Costa again. Back to Chris Froome as he heads towards that intermediate time, in past the advertising boards that surround the big gate. And here is the ticker, Tony Martin at the minute safe. Looking good for the German world time trial champion. Now the important thing is to look at the differences between Froome and Spilak. Froome slightly faster at the moment, just 2 and a bit seconds in it. And Simon Spilak is putting in a superb performance that should mean, as you can see from the virtual general classification on the right, that he conserves his second place from Rui Costa. And Tom Danielson has ridden himself into 4th place as it stands. Wilco Kelderman, as you can see, unless Thibaut Pinot can up his game coming in towards the finish, will be the best placed young rider. Also 5th on GC in general. So good rides from Danielson, Costa, Spilak, and of course the man who could be in wide at the end of the day, Wilco Kelderman. You're watching the final stage of the Tour de Romandie. 5th stage on the road, 6th when you count the days, and of course that prologue uphill time trial that started us off at the beginning of the week. Here's Alejandro Valverde, man wearing number 31 for Movistar. His Tour de Romandie, and the first part of his season finishes as he's in the 30-odd places on the day. We'll wait to see if it's enough for him to conserve his top 10 place on GC. Back with Spilak. Katusha rider, who's no longer eligible for that young rider placing. He was a few years ago ended up with the Tour de Romandie yellow jersey. He didn't, of course, wear it on the final podium, as it was retrospectively taken off Alejandro Valverde. But it's obviously a race that he likes, this. Former Lampley rider, now at the heart of the Russian team Katusha. There's Chris Froome from the air, being followed by the Sky team car. Of course, born in Kenya, spent a lot of time in South Africa as well, but registered as a British rider for the last few years. Does have British heritage and roots. And at the moment, he's the man who Sky have said will lead the team at the Tour de France. Again, the first part of his preparation for the Tour ends with this race. Rui Costa, do you expect to come back to Switzerland to defend his Tour de Suisse title later in the year? Now the fight for the white jersey coming to an end. Thibaut Pinot. And look at this, I'm afraid it's a fight that he is going to lose. He's worn it all week from the prologue to here. And Thibaut Pinot is going to have to give up the best young rider classification on the final podium to Wilco Kelderman. 1 minute 51.2 down, average of 48.2. That's kilometres per hour, by the way, over the course of the 18.7 kilometre course. He's ridden well this week. He's had a nice attacking style, not been afraid to light the race up, but unfortunately for him, he ends without prize. You can hear, vamos, vamos, let's go, being shouted at Rui Costa from the car. Rui Costa putting in an excellent time trial here. Of course, his biggest danger was Robert Keselowski. Danger on the road now, Tom Danielson and Wilco Kelderman. Once more, the loudspeaker shouts more encouragement towards Rui Costa. Team Movistar, for those of you perhaps new to the sport, are new in name in the fact they changed the sponsor, but it's a team that's been run for the last 20-odd years in the north of Spain. A fixture in the world of top-level cycling. Most recently under the name of Kestepan. So Spilak, no more turns to make for him. He's done his final 180. And he heads back towards that huge jet of water that marks the front of the lakeside quay here in Geneva. I'll tell you here at the finish line where we sit speaking to you, the people are on the road. They're waiting to welcome home Robert Keselowski, leader for Radio Shack this year, a team that's had such a good spring despite the not too positive predictions before the start of the year. People were moaning there was no support in the Classics for Fabian Cancellara. They were proved wrong. It's a team that, despite its successes, may well have to look elsewhere for a sponsor at the end of the year. Keselowski, 62nd on the day. As Marcus Berghardt on the left for BMC. Of course, having a chat with his compatriot, Tony Martin. Berghardt from Germany, but lives in Switzerland. We'll see both of them on the podium. Berghardt, who will win the King of the Mountains jersey. Bit of abrupt braking from Chris Froome as he makes his 180 turn. He just has to stay upright here now.
Yeah, no, for sure. We said this right from the start. We can't see anybody beat him in the overall. It was all about the individual performance today for the stage. Tony Martin looks as if he's wrapped that up and possibly could be heading into the top 10.
Rui Costa heading home at the end of his Tour de Romandie. Last year he was third, and it looks as though it's going to be good enough for him to stay on the podium again this year. Just 1 minute and 2 seconds down on what looks like it will be the winning time on the day from Tony Martin. So he'll go off and get himself cleaned up, and we'll see him most likely in third place. One man to worry about for Tony Martin, and that is Chris Froome. As we suggested already, he's had his stage win. It looks as though he will be riding in as safely as possible to pick up the yellow jersey as the winner of the general classification here at the Tour de Romandie. Simon Spilak will be next across the line. We've seen Rui Costa into third. Expect, I think, Brian, the podium to stay as it was as far as GC is concerned coming into today.
Yeah, very much looks like that way. One of the other riders moving up the classification would be Tom Danielson for Garmin Sharp. Looks as if he's possibly moved up into fourth position. So very good performance by Tom Danielson, very consistent. But for me, Froome, Spilak and Costa, as we started earlier today, will be the top three at the finish.
Spilak with a very, very good time trial. It's taken it out of him. Look at his face, absolutely tired out. We saw the efforts yesterday. Teeth gritted, shaking the head. But in a moment it'll be all over and he can celebrate. Stage winner yesterday, Simon Spilak, fourth on the final stage and second on the Tour de Romandie 2013. Congratulations to a rider who's had an excellent start to this season. And finally you can relax. One man who's almost there is Chris Froome. Heading in towards the final part of this course now. Froome, who started the week by winning the uphill prologue, has just 1 kilometre to go.
Yeah, and going into that last kilometre, Tony Martin looks as if he has been confirmed as the winner of this last stage in Geneva. Chris Froome is 32 seconds off his overall time coming into the last kilometre, so it does look as if Chris Froome is heading to a very good performance in this final time trial here in Geneva. Tony Martin will win the stage, but more importantly, Chris Froome in the yellow jersey here will be the second Brit in a row to win the Tour of Romandie.
Well, Bradley Wiggins did it first 12 months ago. And Chris Froome just 300 metres away from taking the yellow jersey in what is a huge step forward for him as he builds to the Tour de France. Yes, he won the Tour of Oman earlier on this year. He had some big rivals there, but this is the first time he's going to win a stage race at World Tour level. Froome riding home behind Tony Martin's time, who's the stage runner of the day, but this is the winner of the Tour de Romandie 2013. Christopher Froome, third on stage 5. First, though, when you look at the collection of all 6 stages this week. Sky make it 2 out of 2, and it's Chris Froome who takes victory in the biggest race of his career. And if Froome wants a good omen, remember, Cadel Evans won here in 2011, went on to win the Tour de France. Bradley Wiggins, 12 months ago, did exactly the same thing. No pressure, Chris Froome. Can he keep the sequence going? We shall see. Of course, July, a completely different kettle of fish, and plenty of more than worthy contenders are going to attempt to try and take the challenge to him. Final confirmed classification of the 5th stage in the Tour de Romandie. Tony Martin makes it yet another time trial victory in this 2013 that's proving to be an exceptional year for him so far. He won in the Tour of the Algarve, he won at the last stage of the Tirreno, also won the final stage of the Tour of the Basque Country, and he does exactly the same by 16 seconds from Adriano Mallory and Chris Froome here. Lua Vestra 4th, Simon Spilak in 5th, with Steph Clement in 6th place. This is the man that we're all looking at though today and congratulating as the winner of yet another time trial. It's the world time trial champion, Tony Martin, the 28-year-old from Cottbus in Germany. So to the general classification, it's as we were coming into the final day. Froome from Spilak, who finishes 54 seconds down. Great rides from the Brits and the Slovenian, with Portugal celebrating another podium. Rui Costa in 3rd place, 1 minute and 49 back, but what a ride on the day from Messrs Danielsen and Kelderman, who catapult themselves into the top 5, with Kelderman taking particular praise, I'm sure, for winning the white jersey. Further down, Tony Martin, winner on the day, finishes 11th in the general classification. Thibaut Pinot, unfortunate for him.